Just weeks ago, Oscar Piastri looked destined to cruise to his first ever Formula One World Championship, with McLaren comfortably leading both the drivers' and constructors' standings. But two races, just two, have changed everything. Back-to-back victories for Max Verstappen in Monza and Baku have blown the title race wide open, slashing what was once a triple-digit points gap into a margin that suddenly feels alarmingly small. Inside McLaren, alarm bells are ringing. Sources reveal that team principal Zak Brown and race director Andrea Stella called a closed-door emergency meeting after the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, a meeting that Piastri has now broken his silence on. What was said behind those doors shows just how deeply Verstappen's resurgence has shaken the Papaya squad. Before we dive deeper into those revelations, make sure you hit subscribe, because what's unfolding in this title race could go down as one of the most dramatic comebacks in F1 history, and you won't want to miss a second of it. Inside the walls of the McLaren Technology Centre, the atmosphere has shifted from confidence to quiet tension. What was once a season of dominance has suddenly become a strategic minefield. And at the centre of it all is one man, Max Verstappen, whose back-to-back victories in Monza and Baku have blown the 2025 Formula One title fight wide open. The numbers tell the story. At the start of the Italian Grand Prix, Verstappen trailed Oscar Piastri by a daunting 104 points. Piastri was flying high, leading the championship, while Lando Norris was close behind, and McLaren looked set to claim both titles with races to spare. But in just 2 weekends, Verstappen has slashed that gap to 69 points. It's still a big margin, but the psychological blow to McLaren is enormous. Suddenly, the unthinkable seems possible. Verstappen, once counted out of the title race, is back in the hunt. This seismic shift triggered what insiders describe as an emergency strategy summit within McLaren after the chaos of Baku. According to Piastri, the internal conversation was laser-focused on one uncomfortable truth: Red Bull is back, and Verstappen is coming. McLaren's leadership, Zak Brown and Andrea Stella, openly acknowledged that their margin for error has vanished. Every decision, every pit stop, every strategic call from this point forward could determine the fate of the championship. What makes this comeback so threatening is the manner in which it's happening. Red Bull's RB21 has undergone a significant transformation since the mid-season break. Their floor upgrade at Monza, paired with the revised aerodynamic package, has unlocked pace in both high-speed corners and on the straights, weaknesses that plagued them earlier in the season. As Stella bluntly admitted, the way they won in Monza wasn't just about straight-line speed. They were fast everywhere. That's a chilling realization for McLaren. Verstappen no longer needs perfect conditions to win. He can do it on any track, under any circumstances. But it's not just Red Bull's improvements that are fueling this comeback. McLaren's own mistakes are adding fuel to the fire. Baku was a nightmare from start to finish. Both drivers crashed in qualifying. Piastri jumped the start, hit anti-stall and dropped to the back. And on lap 1, a misjudged braking point sent him into the barriers and out of the race. Norris, meanwhile, could do no better than 7th, stuck behind slower cars and unable to make progress. Instead of extending their lead, McLaren left Azerbaijan with just 6 points all from Norris, while Verstappen collected another dominant victory. This disastrous weekend has forced McLaren into a difficult question they've so far avoided. Should they prioritise Oscar Piastri as their clear number 1 driver? Up to now, the team has allowed Piastri and Norris to race freely, a luxury afforded by their early season dominance. But with Verstappen closing in and every point now potentially decisive, many believe McLaren must shift their focus. Prioritising Piastri could maximise their chances of defending the Drivers' Championship, but it risks upsetting team harmony and alienating Norris, who still believes he can win the title himself. Helmut Marko, never one to miss an opportunity to apply psychological pressure, says Verstappen's comeback is already making McLaren nervous. And he's right. You can hear it in Zak Brown's tone, see it in Stella's press briefings. They're not talking about domination anymore, they're talking about minimising mistakes and learning lessons. That's a team on the defensive. But not everyone believes Verstappen can complete the comeback. Ferrari's Charles Leclerc, who has battled Verstappen wheel to wheel more than most, said he would be really surprised if the Dutchman overturned the deficit, insisting the fight is still definitely between Oscar and Lando. Still, even Leclerc admits that Verstappen's current form is fantastic and that Red Bull has made a clear step forward. Jacques Villeneuve, on the other hand, sees a very different outcome. The 1997 world champion believes that if Red Bull's upgrades continue to deliver, Verstappen can win the 2025 title, especially if McLaren continue to stumble. The data supports Villeneuve's argument. Since the Hungarian Grand Prix, Piastri has scored 58 points, Norris 49, but Verstappen has racked up 70. That's not just a comeback, that's dominance. If that trajectory continues, Verstappen could erase the remaining gap with races to spare. And the next test is looming large: Singapore. It's a track where Verstappen has never won and where McLaren traditionally perform well. If Piastri and Norris can deliver a 1-2 finish, they can halt Red Bull's momentum and reclaim control of the championship. But if Verstappen wins there too, then even the most optimistic McLaren fans will have to admit the tide has turned. Meanwhile, inside McLaren, the message to the drivers is clear: mistakes are no longer an option. As Stella explained, when you're racing at the top of Formula One and the competition is so tight, you cannot afford errors. Your rivals will always be ready to capitalize. That's exactly what Verstappen has done, turning every McLaren slip-up into a chance to close the gap. As for Piastri himself, he remains calm on the surface. After Baku, he downplayed the significance of Verstappen's resurgence, saying, "I'm not going to rule him out, but I'm not too concerned. I know that if I perform at my best, I'll be fine." It's the kind of mindset you want from a championship leader: confident, composed, and focused on self-improvement. But deep down, even Piastri knows that the battle ahead will be the toughest of his young career. If Verstappen pulls this off, it would be nothing short of historic, perhaps the greatest comeback in F1's modern era. But if McLaren can regroup, fix their errors, and reassert their dominance, this season could still end with Piastri lifting the trophy. The next few races will define not just the 2025 season, but possibly the legacy of everyone involved. So, here's the million-dollar question. Has Max Verstappen already broken McLaren's spirit? Or will Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris fight back and slam the door shut on one of the greatest comeback stories Formula One has ever seen? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe, because the next chapter of this championship is about to be written under the lights of Singapore. And trust me, you won't want to miss it.